From the grasslands in northern China, voices straining to be heard. Ethnic Mongolian singers mimicking sounds of the steppe, a pastoral practice said to date back to the conquests of Genghis Khan. However, the Chinese claim throat singing as part of their cultural heritage and even got UNESCO to list it under China's name, irritating the Mongolian community. Personally, I think throat singing is part of our Mongolian culture, and it should belong to Mongolians. Whether it's over throat singing or land, ethnic Mongolians and Han Chinese have been in conflict since the days of the old Silk Road. The Mongols once dominated China, part of their vast empire stretching from Moscow to Guangzhou. Eventually, the Chinese chased their conquerors out and claimed Mongol land, an area now known as Inner Mongolia. Today, only 1 out of 5 of the autonomous region's near 20 million people are ethnic Mongolian, leading to fears their culture could disappear. It's very difficult for us to preserve our Mongolian culture in this big cultural environment because there are so many different cultures, he says, all competing with each other. In the regional capital Hohhot, it appears the Han Chinese are winning that competition. Chinese have been moving here, attracted by government policies to modernize Inner Mongolia. Bao Cheng, who like many Mongolians goes by one name, has seen his street, once a trading area for livestock, transform over the past 5 decades. It used to be a bustling area. It was like a festival, he says. Back then, we were all wearing traditional Mongolian clothing. To preserve his culture, Bao Cheng collects saddles. So far, 400 of them, worn and weathered over centuries on the steppe, now cultural relics without their nomadic masters. Mongolians are now reluctant to sell their saddles, he says. We all want to preserve the treasures that our ancestors left us. The government is encouraging herdsmen to hang up their saddles by providing subsidies to relocate to the cities, a move authorities say will help protect the land from environmental degradation. The government says it wants to protect the Mongolian grasslands, so it's enforcing policies to prevent overgrazing. But the decade-long effort has fueled anti-government sentiment among an ethnic minority frustrated as mining and development continue to encroach on grazing land, and who, despite massive government investment in the economy, feel left behind. Last year, that anger erupted into protests. Demonstrations swept a number of cities here after a Chinese truck driver for a coal mine struck and killed a Mongolian herder. The protests even spread here to the region's capital of Hohhot. Protests started to gather at this central square, so the police cordoned the entire area off. In response to the protests and in an effort to create a peaceful mixed community, the government vowed to shut illegal mines and is investing hundreds of millions of dollars in education and programs to promote Mongolian culture. As we found, the two peoples do manage to live side by side, even as more Chinese flock to the plains. We Mongolians used to have a big population here, but now our numbers are getting smaller and smaller, he says. Mongolian herder Erdin says he understands the government's predicament and says for him, life is more comfortable, though he's nostalgic for the nomadic traditions of his childhood here. There are things I miss about that way of life, he says, but there's nothing I can do about it now. A yearning echoing throughout the grasslands to nurture the Mongolian soul. Eunice Yoon, CNN, Inner Mongolia.